This is me before reading a single word of Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. And I'm gonna check in after every 50 pages I read. There's 320 pages in this novel, so I'm gonna check in about 6 times with my spoiler-full thoughts and reactions. I bought this copy for $1 at a thrift store and had absolutely no plans of reading Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. 1 out of 10 excited. Eventually I will read it, it's just not like a priority at all. Until my subscribers gushed about it. Aside from knowing that Ender's Game is a famous sci-fi book from 1985 that was adapted into a movie like a decade ago, I honestly don't know diddly squat about the subject matter in this book. I think the main character like practices spaceship battles on a computer or something. Yeah, I don't know. But I do know that people are obsessed with this book and that it was hugely influential to the sci-fi genre as a whole. So I got high hopes. I got like the Michael Olowokandi of hopes. Ender? I just met her. Ender? More like starter. Let's start reading. I wasn't actually reading right there. I was just pretending. I'm gonna check back in after I read 50 pages. 53 pages in my pocket. Read it and wait. So I'm gonna kind of give you my stream of consciousness notes in chronological order. So the main character's name is Andrew Wiggins. Wait, hold on. Wait, like that Andrew Wiggins apparently. Draft day. Hey, Wiggins. Except this Andrew Wiggins' nickname is Ender, and he's a 6-year-old. And at the beginning of the story, he is unplugged from a monitor that scientists or something were like experimenting on him for like 3 or 4 years. I think they're like looking for a chosen one. Ender has a sister named Valentine, and she's super nice. He also has a brother named Peter, and he's a dickhead. Peter is big jealous because Ender was plugged in longer than he was back in his day. And being plugged into this monitor thing is like a test. So Peter failed. And he turned into a crotchety, disgruntled 10-year-old. Peter's a bully. But yeah, so we're under the impression that Ender may have failed as well. Because Ender went home. He got unplugged and now he's home. And so Ender like goes back to school and a bully named Stilson delivers just about the worst razzes I've ever heard in my life. Ender's like trying to get by him and is like, can I get through? And Stilson and the boys are like blocking his way. And he's like, sure, we'll let you through. First, we'll let your arm through, then your butt through, then a piece of your knee. What, bro? What does that even mean, Stilson? And then Stilson comes up with this genius one-liner and says to Ender, you're about as strong as a fart. That can be pretty strong, bro. Proof is in the pudding, too. My boy Ender dropped your ass after you said that. Cause my dude Ender's strong as a motherfucking fart. What kind of name is Stilson? You're gonna be still, son, if you keep trying to bully my boy A. Wiggins. Now that's a one-liner. So I listened to most of this, and the audiobook is old school. It like reminds me of like a PBS show or something, but honestly, it's great so far. I would even go to the lengths of saying it's like Tony the Tiger. Great so far. The narrator does like a ton of voices and has a really natural conversational cadence. It sounds like you're listening to a movie. And so the writing in general is easy to follow. Short, to the point sentences. We get a lot of children characters, so they do talk very like childlike in a way. Like they're making a lot of butt and fart jokes. So this is considered a young adult book, and it does read like that. We occasionally follow a conversation from 2 seemingly nefarious soldiers. One who was in Ender's body, like controlling him or listening to everything going on or something like that. I don't know. But listening to those 2 talk in the audiobook reminds me of...
It's a clockmaker's turn again. Oh, Clarence hasn't got his wings yet, has he? We've passed him up right along.
Their banter, that's what it sounds like. So for the overarching kind of why are we doing this plot, there's a war between the buggers and the astronauts. Buggers seem to be aliens, and the astronauts are humans. And the astronauts are losing. A military guy named Graf comes to Ender's house. The military is called the IF in this. To Ender's dismay, Graf asks about the fight with Stilson at school, because apparently Ender rocked Stilson, and that the IF actually wanted to see how Ender would react when he wasn't given the safety of being plugged in. So Ender like stood his ground for a good reason and like passed the test by the IF. And he is chosen to train at like a boarding school to be a starship captain. This is like a prestigious academy essentially. Yo, is Ender about to become the next Mazer Rackham? For those who don't know ball, Mazer Rackham is like the GOAT of military captaining. And so we learned that they call Ender third to kind of diss him because he is the third born in his family. And it's actually against the law or like religion or something to have more than 2 kids. And poor Ender gets bullied time and time again in this first 50 pages. It's like he's wearing a kick me sign on his back, honestly. Like 30 of these 50 pages, Ender is just in some bully confrontation. Getting heckled like a bombing comedian. But Ender can hold his own. He can throw hands. And he doesn't know his own strength. And it's funny when I'm saying all this stuff, like you forget that Ender is a 6-year-old. He's just like a little 6-year-old. Absolutely kicking the shit out of everybody. And this first day of the military school called Battle School, he gets in yet another confrontation and kicks the shit out of someone else. But the military people think Ender may just be the greatest captain of all time. He might be like a Mazarakim, and Ender might be the key to them defeating the buggers. So we got a lot of expectation for this little guy. Again, he's 6. He's 6. Battle School is like Lord of the Flies. The kid Ender beat up on his first day, his name is Bernard, and Bernard forms a little crew who, you guessed it, bullies Ender. Meanwhile, Ender's just like nasty at video games. If he lived in this day and age, he'd be like a professional 2K player or something. But the video game they play is like space oriented. But you're playing against other students from the school just like kind of for recreational fun, you know, as people do when they play video games. They play it for recreational fun. Ender finally makes a friend named Shen, who is also bullied by Bernard. But then Ender essentially uses like Yik Yak to spread rumors about Bernard. And then everyone starts making fun of Bernard. Fighting fire with fire, I can't hate it. It worked. I'm currently in the Big Apple for the night.
Hudson, yes.
Filming a couple videos for Phil Hates Gluten. We're staying in Times Square, so it's pretty nuts. I literally saw a guy huck a loogie on a group of tourists earlier. Had a great view because I was one of the tourists. No, I'm just kidding. Also saw Bill Burr in a coffee shop. That was pretty cool. He was just sitting in the corner minding his business, so I didn't want to like go up and like bother him and say hi or anything. And what would even come of me saying hi to him? You know? We become best friends and spend a magical weekend together in the city that never sleeps. 270 pages to go. Let's do it.
Rockefeller Center. Look scared. Look scared.
Okay, I'm officially home. I've returned to my place of slumber and solitude. And I physically read last night and got a bunch of notes, so let's go over them. First thing is, maybe I need to make a little correction. I said that there was like 2 guys who might be nefarious talking about Ender, and that their voices reminded me of the angels or stars or whatever in It's a Wonderful Life. I actually feel like they're not nefarious anymore. I think they're just tough. They're just tough on these kids, you know? Like, the fate of the world is up in the air, and somehow these 6- and 8-year-old kids are their only hope of survival. So yeah, I guess I'd be reasonably tough on these kids. It's a big deal. I mentioned in the last reading segment that Ender had an absolute chess move of befriending Bernard's BFF. Say that 10 times fast. Befriending Bernard's BFF. Befriending Bernard's BFF. Befriending Bernard's BFF. I guess that wasn't that hard. His name is Ali? Ali? A lie? I hope I'm not telling you a lie with how to pronounce his name, if you know what I'm saying. But I read it. I didn't listen to it, so I don't know. So Ender was called up from single A to double A, essentially. So he was like a rookie on the launch team, and now he is in an army, they call them. This army is called Salamander. Hated that. Cut that out, Phil. And the Salamander army is all 8 to 11-year-olds. And as a reminder, Ender is 6. Ender is still ripping video games. He's playing this new one with this giant, and he just stabs it in the eye a bunch when he realizes he can't defeat it otherwise. Ender might have some issues. I hate to say it, but Ender might have some issues. This kid is built different, and I must keep reminding everyone, he's 6. And we're inside of his head listening to him think and communicate. He sounds like a 32-year-old. But what's funny is even after defeating this giant to go to Fairyland, or whatever is supposed to be this magical oasis of this video game, Ender goes into Fairyland, walks up, sees a bunch of kids playing on a playground, and gets bullied by them. This poor cat. I mean, if there was a villain origin story, Ender Wiggins would be the perfect example of one. If he ends up being a good guy, I'll be shocked. So Ender has a new leader. It's not Bernard. It's not Ali. He's not worried about them anymore. They're in the lower, forget about them right now. His new leader is Bonzo. And if you're asking me, it's more like Bozo. Get that guy out of here. Yeah, Bonzo doesn't know what he's doing on the battlefield, strategy-wise. He's kind of just doing basic things, and meanwhile, Ender's on the sideline dissecting everything Bonzo's doing wrong in his mind. But yeah, Bonzo doesn't want Ender on his squad. He just kind of shoves him in the corner and says, stay there. You're too young. You're going to weigh me down. This is too strategic of a battlefield formation for you to be involved in. And I guess I should explain the battlefield thing. Like they're doing essentially like scrimmages of battles against other armies. And Bonzo's team Bonzo's like bragging about going like 12-8. He's like, oh, our team's like really good. We're 12-8. Dude, that's mid. That's like bragging about winning in a play-in game in the NBA. It's like Pat Bev jumping on the scorer's table. That's you, Bonzo. That's you. I actually don't mind Pat Bev. So Pat Bev, if you're watching, I would probably do the same thing. Against his will, Ender makes a friend in the Salamander army named Petri. She's the only girl in the army, and she's also an outlier. And he's like, oh great, now I'm making friends with the outcasts. I'm an outcast making friends with outcasts. We might as well start a band and put out hit song after hit song. But yeah, Petri's honestly awesome. I'm a big Petri guy. Mark it down now. She helps Ender train. She sees something in Ender more than anyone else, more than Bonzo, more than Bernard, more than anyone, aside from the higher ups who obviously really like Ender because they keep rising him through the rank. But yeah, Ender is super smart. Like, he's not getting any burn on Bonzo's team. Bonzo's just keeping him on the bench. So Ender decides that he's actually gonna go back to Bernard, Alai, Seth, or whatever that other guy's name is, his friend, and he's gonna train with them. He's gonna like teach them. It kind of reminds me of like my junior year in high school on the basketball team. I was on varsity, no big deal, but I was like that guy who was on varsity who would go down and play with JV sometimes because I didn't play at all on varsity, and so I would start in some like random JV games and just absolutely dominate, and by absolutely dominate I mean put up like 5 points. That's kind of what Ender's doing, and just based off his like relationship with Bonzo and how much of a jerk Bonzo is, I feel like Ender is going to end up facing off against Bonzo somehow. There's going to be, it's going to come to a head, and he's going to absolutely take Bonzo and his simpleton tactics down. Because Ender is watching Bonzo's game tape. He's studying Bonzo like an SAT. He knows his every move, and his every move isn't that amazing. Bonzo's like a serviceable captain. You know, he's like an Andy Dalton of the 8 to 11-year-old battle school armies. But honestly, he's helping Ender in a way because Ender is learning how to lead through watching Bonzo not be good at leading. And just like studying the scrimmages and stuff from the side and trying to get involved, to kind of like dipping his toes in the scrimmages when he's not supposed to because Ender's a little bad boy. And actually at one point in one of the scrimmages, Bonzo's army is about to lose and Ender's just like, fuck this. He's like hidden in the corner so no one knows where he is, and he just starts firing at the other team's army, and he saves Salamander army, his army, from losing, so they get a draw. But in doing that, he disobeyed Bonzo, and Bonzo is livid. And I wish I loved anything as much as Bonzo loves slapping people, because this guy just whacks people like Will Smith at an award show. And because Ender disobeyed Bonzo, how many times am I gonna say the word Bonzo in this video? It's starting to mean nothing to me. I'm saying it so much. Bonzo trades Ender to a different army called the Rat Army. And that might go down as one of the worst trades. That might go down as like the curse of the great Bambino. It's gonna be the curse of the great Bonzo, or the curse of the Ender. You know, Ender's gonna end up being Babe Ruth is what I'm trying to get at. And Bonzo's gonna look like an absolute Nimrod, as he should. And that's kind of where I left off. Honestly, the chapters are getting way longer. So like the next chapter was 25 pages. So that's why I stopped a little bit early here. But yeah, this book reads at warp speed. It is super fun. I'm having an absolute blast with it. It isn't difficult to understand. Some of the, when they talk about the ship and like the gravity and even some of like the battlefield formations and strategies and sci-fi stuff, I actually do get kind of confused reading it. Like they talked about the gravitational force in the actual scrimmage battlefield, and I feel like that's going to be some sort of revelation that comes into play, but I don't even know I didn't even really understand what they were talking about. So apparently 8-year-olds can understand this stuff, but a 31-year-old can't. Ender turned 7. Everyone say happy birthday to Endy. And again, I can only reiterate, it is bananas how smart Ender is. He's like Jimmy Neutron. He has to be a boy genius because he is 7. And if you read this book, you'll understand why I'm so shocked. This guy's supposed to be the most intelligent 7-year-old ever. All of these kids must be the most intelligent 7-year-olds ever. I just don't understand. Like, is there no like 30-year-old that is competent enough to lead these armies? Like honestly, every time we get like that flash to those 2 guys talking, those 2 soldiers, and they're like, oh, I hope Ender learns fast. You know, he's got to save us from the buggers. Why are 6-year-olds the only ones who can save us from the buggers? Why are we putting the fate of humanity in the galaxy in the hands of people under 11 years old? Is there no competent 30-year-old out there? Why are they so young? I'm thinking of like the Max Hoops high school ratings and how like some guys are nasty in high school and just totally fall off in college. What if that's Andrew Wiggins, huh? Andrew Wiggins kind of fell off once he went to the NBA. It's just mind-boggling to me. Can we not, is there not a 50-year-old? Like, there's so many ages above 11 that we could be choosing the starship captains to lead us to defeat the buggers. But this little pipsqueak is who's gonna do it? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love reading about it, but it just seems like a plot hole, no? It has to be revealed. It must be revealed eventually. I mean, unless these buggers are also 6-year-olds at heart or something, and like they need the mind of a 6-year-old to defeat other 6-year-olds. Also, really nothing from the buggers yet. We're about a third through the book, and we don't really have anything from the buggers. We don't know much about them. The only reason I know what they look like is because I did look it up to put a picture in that previous vlog. Obviously, you guys know that there's a movie, Ender's Game. I'm thinking that maybe I'll watch that after I read the book, and maybe I'll make like a quick little segment on how I like that versus the book. I got a lot going on with work and life stuff right now, so I'm actually reading a little bit slower than I'd hope. Getting married in like a week and a half, and so that's taking a lot of my time. So hopefully I can get this done reading before that, but if not, you know, it is what it is. You know, marriage comes first. Marriage comes first. Okay. All right, let's get reading. Oh, and I just picked these up. I'm gonna read this next, Pet Sematary, my first Stephen King horror book, and then I cannot wait to finish the Blade Itself trilogy. So, and now my great. Now I got, you know, free meals, shall we? Shall. So I head over.
Self-published fiction. For today, that ends. Procuring musk-colored leaf and protein porridge.
Lot to talk about. We're about halfway through now on chapter 10 entitled Dragon. I got a little notebook right here with my notes, so let's go through them. But first I gotta tell you about this because this is pretty sick. So I mentioned we're getting married to my favorite gluten-free brewery. Made a custom sticker for a beer can that we're gonna be offering at our wedding. Got a custom label, name, and has our story on it, so pretty sick. I'm pretty psyched up about that. Okay. Let's get to it. So on page 98, we start out with a conversation between Graf and someone named Colonel Anderson. And we find out that Graf wants to like alter those simulation scrimmages to be more difficult in general. He's kind of like gaming the system for Ender. He's like Ender's #1 fan. I don't know if I mentioned that. Graf is like an Ender stan. Nobody believes in Ender more than Graf. He literally says that he thinks Ender is the key to them winning the war. Graf bought Ender stock when it was a penny stock, and it's about to turn into Tesla. So yeah, Ender's in Rat Army now, and their commander is named Rose the Nose. A lot of wacky names in this book, I'll tell you that. I feel like I should mention that everyone's just walking around naked all the time in this book. I felt weird mentioning it earlier, but I have to mention it now because it happens so often. If they're not in their uniform, they're just fully nude. It's like a nude colony in this battle school. So that's a little bit odd. I feel like that, but yeah. Dink Meeker is Ender's new Toon leader, and a Toon is like a squad within an army. And our guy Dink is actually really good at what he does. He's probably better than Rose the Nose, who is their army captain, but Dink doesn't want that role of responsibility, and I'll get into that in a second. So now that he's in Rat Army instead of Salamander Army, can't believe I did that twice, Ender finally gets a chance to prove himself in one of these simulations against another army, and he does. Rookie of the Year numbers for Ender. He's a beast. Honestly, Ender's whole thing is just proving haters wrong in this book. So back to Dink, back to Dink. Dink starts spitting conspiracy theories that the IF is like fabricating this whole bugger invasion and war, and that the IF actually defeated the buggers like years ago, back when Mazer Rackham was fighting, putting up numbers against plumbers. If you don't understand that joke, it's just me comparing to Mazer Rackham to Michael Jordan. So Dink has all these conspiracy theories. He's thinking that the IF is doing this so that they can stay in power, so they can control people, so they can run this battle school and essentially have power over everybody. And Ender doesn't really believe this, but he also doesn't not believe it, but Dink's got me questioning everything. But honestly, I personally think the buggers are real. That's partly due to me Googling buggers to put the picture on here and it actually having a result. But I will say I'm halfway through the book yet and still no sight of a bugger. They're like the boogeyman. They're like the Loch Ness Monster. They're a threat that hasn't been seen with my own peepers yet, and I don't know if I can believe it if I don't see it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Dink's onto something. Every once in a while, we get this like random lingo from the people in battle school. I can't even describe what kind of language it sounds like, but they'll just be talking normally like I'm talking now, and then they'll just flip on this switch of like their kind of slang lingo. It's hard to describe, but if you read it, or especially if you listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I told you guys how Ender was running these practices with the launchies, which are like the younger kids. Some older kids come to try to break up those practices, and it leads to this like schoolyard brawl, a little skirmish, and Ender's pissed off, and he just goes ISO on them. ISO Joe. He's dribbling, clearing everybody out, 1-on-5, and he beats them all up. Beats them to a pulp. 7. Ender's 7, by the way, and these older kids are like 11. Ender doesn't like who he's becoming. He's seeing himself become his older brother, Peter. But on the flip side, Ender is getting more notoriety in Battle School. Ender still plays that video game with the Giant, except, you know, he's already defeated the Giant. He's on to a new level called the End of the World. And in that level, there's snakes and all this stuff involved that have this mature symbolism. He looks inside of a mirror within this video game, and he sees Peter's face looking back at him. And the adults that are like watching him, his every move, it's like 1984, they can see everything. These adults don't know why that happened. They don't know how they could get a recent picture of Peter within this video game looking back at Ender. So like there's some sort of glitch going on in the video game. Fast forward a little bit, Ender's 8. Kobe year. We get a long Valentine point of view with her just pretty much talking about how Peter is a freak. Her parents actually moved away to North Carolina to live more remotely, so Peter wouldn't like pick on kids anymore, and instead he's just chilling in the woods dissecting and torturing squirrels for fun and leisure. But he is really smart. And honestly, this whole book takes a 180 right about this chapter where we get Valentine's point of view, because out of nowhere, like I'm just reading about this Battle School, and then all of a sudden I'm reading about Peter tracking troop patterns in Russia, predicting that there's going to be a war soon. We get a lot of this conversation going on. Valentine compares him to Hitler, and Peter brings up this like grandiose plan where him and Valentine are going to get new identities as like adults on the net, which is the internet, I assume. They're pretty much going to write articles and like tweets with these aliases. Peter wants control. That's like the thing he seeks most in life. He wants to rule and save mankind from its self-destruction, which I guess sounds noble in a way, but it also sounds like a villain origin story. By the way, Peter's 12. Peter's 12 and Valentine's 10. Peter gives Valentine this like sob story on how he doesn't want to be a killer, but he can't help it. And personally, I think he's duping her. I think he is so smart and he's playing Valentine like a fiddle. She kind of wonders if he is, but ultimately she gets sucked into his evil plan. So Val ultimately agrees to help Peter create these aliases and essentially stir political turmoil. They created 2 aliases, one named Demonstracies and the other one's named Locke. And they're writing from opposing points of view. So they start writing purposely polarizing political opinion pieces and garner a following for Locke and Demonstracies. And Peter has Valentine writing Demonstracies, which is kind of like the point of view that is more like nationalist and anti-Russia. Again, this is just such a curveball. This is such a curveball. I did not expect this story to go this way at all. I actually didn't even think his family was going to be relevant after he went to Battle School, and I fear that Peter is poisoning Val's mind. So back to Ender's point of view, he's 9 now, and he's number 1 in all the ratings. I am number 1. 2 is not a winner, and 3 nobody remembers. That's Ender. His practice with all the launchies now includes elite students. This is like the runs at Lifetime Fitness in Brooklyn with Hoodie Mello. Because Ender is him. Himmy Neutron. Ender has respect. He's garnered respect. It's so much so that like his friends don't even really joke with him anymore. They're almost intimidated by him and treat him like a teacher. And so he hates his life. He actually doesn't like what's going on from that regard. He's lonely at the top, you know? And he keeps seeing Peter in this video game. And now that I know what Peter is up to, I think that this is some symbolism for some eventual confrontation between Ender and Peter. I can't really decide if it's going to be a fight between good and evil, or if they're going to ultimately have team up. Back to Valentine's point of view, Colonel Graff shows up at her school, and she's terrified that he found out about her writing as Demonstracies and creating all this political turmoil on the interweb. But he's actually just there to ask her to write a letter to Ender, which she has like 100 times, but they haven't showed him any of them. But Graff wants to get Ender out of his funk, so he's going to show him this letter. So she writes him the letter, and Ender reads right through it. He realizes that Graff or the IF has organized this, and it honestly just depresses Ender because he's like, I'm stuck here. Like they control my life. Is everything a lie? Like what's going on? This is like a curated reality within Battle School. They don't even want you to talk about your previous life in Battle School, and they're not going to see their families until they're like 12 or 18. So they're in this school for years before they can even go back home. Ender's starting to read through all the IF's BS, but that letter actually just kind of gives him the motivation or something, gives him that little zhuzh to defeat that level he was stuck on where Peter was looking at him in the mirror. And when he beats the game, Valentine shows up in this video game. And then him and Valentine in this video game walk into a room of cheering Peter. So there's something going on with symbolism here. I really want to see that scene on the movie. Sounds pretty trippy. I feel like it's symbolizing Peter playing them like puppets, or just him being a bad guy in general. But yeah, all that, like the video game parts of it, Peter, the Valentine parts of it, political influencing on the interwebs. I just did not expect this book to go in that direction. I don't know, I guess I was more so expecting like a cut and dry, Ender goes to battle school, he trains there, he becomes a really great captain, maybe he has a little bit of a lost a battle from the buggers, and then he learns and recovers and defeats the buggers at the end. I don't even know if the buggers are going to show up in this book. Dink's got me questioning everything. Ever since Dink said that stuff, I feel like this book is 180. I don't know where this is going. Wild reading segment. Pretty much from page 120 on, I had no idea what was going to happen next. I am somewhat convinced Peter could be the big bad. It's not going to be Bernard. It's not going to be Stilson. It's not going to be the leader of the Salamander army. I forget his name now. I've said it so many times and I forget it somehow. It's not going to be Rose the Nose. It's not going to be the buggers, maybe. It's going to be Peter. So yeah, honestly, I can't wait to keep reading. This has been an absolute joy so far, and it's actually making me crave more sci-fi. The books like Leviathan Wakes that I want to read really bad. I really wanted to read the Bobiverse. I want to get to Demon in White. It feels like this is like Ender's Game on steroids. But yeah, I kind of love how Ender's Game is a little bit easier to read and digest. Just a fun read so far and keeping me on my toes. Like I'm taking a picture next to all my 6'5" friends. Of a book. I think it's supposed to be entertainment. Howie, come. Can you throw it over here? Oh, his mouth is drooling. Up. Sit. Yes. There he goes. All right, got some new glasses. Really jazzed up about them. I'm gonna wear them in this video if that's okay with you. Because honestly, they don't feel like sunglasses, although they are. They feel like these are just like blue light glasses, visually. Expensive glasses, but they're wedding gifts. Me and Serena got each other some wedding gifts, and these are them. All right, we're chugging along in this book, I'll tell you that. Ender is now the captain of Dragon Army, which sounds way more badass than Salamander or Rat. Dragon Army is like an expansion team. It's like the equivalent of the Charlotte Bobcats their first year. They kind of just have like a bunch of scrubs and rookies, but Ender has developed into a really great leader. And there's this little kid in his army named Bean, who is like Ender Jr. He's a smart, super intelligent, super apt little 6 or 7-year-old. And Ender is essentially doing what they did to Ender, singling Bean out, making everyone else kind of jealous of Bean. And he doesn't really know why he's doing it, but he knows that it worked for him and it has brought him to this point. So he's thinking like, oh, I'm doing this for the good of Bean, but Bean reasonably thinks he's a jerk. It's just kind of funny how they turn tables, you know? Ender and his buddy Alai are drifting apart as friends slowly, and they're honestly kind of like enemies now in the battle room because Ender has his own army. But deep down, Ender wants to defeat his real enemies, which are the adult teachers in the battle school. That's who he's seeing as the real villains in all this. I think Dink got to him. I think Ender is totally been conspiracized. And I don't even think it's a conspiracy at this point. I think the teachers are actually, you know, kind of messed up. I'll get into it. But anyways, Ender gets this motley crew of an army he has into tip-top shape, hammering home the fundamentals like a young Greg Popovich. They have their first battle against another army, and they win easily. And it's kind of funny because Ender ends up being one of those coaches who are like mad after a win and like, oh, we could have done this better, we could have done this better. That's Ender. Like him and Alai, it seems like Ender and Dink are sort of going from friends to acquaintances. And like Ender, Dink is rising through the ranks too. He is also a commander now, and he's playing the game that he initially didn't want to play with these teachers and in battle school in general. Dink has succumbed. Petra is also a commander, so we got a lot of commanding now from these characters that we know and love. And also, her name isn't Petri. I was calling her Petri. She's Petra. Ender faces Petra in a battle, and he beats her. And she's kind of ticked off. And at this point, we're not really sure if Ender and Petra are friends. Really, Ender's losing all of the friends that he made. Honestly, everyone's just super jealous of Ender, so he's pretty disliked in the battle school. But I don't know, what's he supposed to do? Lose on purpose? Throw some games? His situation kind of reminds me of like when LeBron was going to be a rookie on the Cavaliers, and those interviews of like Ricky Davis saying like, oh, he's going to have to prove himself. We'll see if he's really worth everything. Look how LeBron turned out, and look how Ender is turning out. Ender goes a quick 7-0 effortlessly in his first 7 battles, or scrimmages, or whatever we're calling them. And just to remind you, Bonzo was bragging about going 12-8. Bonzo is pumped about going almost 500. So at this point, now the kids are trying to learn from Ender because they're like, okay, this isn't a fluke. And Ender isn't gatekeeping. He's teaching them pretty much everything he knows. But at a point, it's like, who does the person teaching people learn from? In Ender's case. And so he ends up just deciding to watch a ton of game tape of like propaganda videos from Mazer Rockham's time and the Bugger Wars. But he finds himself studying the Buggers' strategies more than the humans. And as I'm editing this a day later, I realize that the actual teachers
haven't taught these kids anything. What is the point of the teachers? These kids have come up with these complex strategies all by themselves. What are the adults even doing?
And we also found out that Mazer Rackham's heroic battles were censored. There's no video evidence of it. It's like when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points. We got no footage. We all believe it, but there's no like video evidence we can turn to. So it lays that seed of doubt in Mazer Rackham's heroic battle. And because Ender's watching game film, all the other commanders in the other armies are watching game film too. They're just copying him. So Ender goes up against Bonzo's army and beats him in like 5 seconds. Just absolutely routs them. And Ender was on the heel of a double header. So like they did back-to-back matches and still routed Bonzo. Bonzo stinks. Ender gives his little buddy Bean a special ops tune within his army. So Bean can think of like creative and innovative ideas. Meanwhile, Graf and the adults or the teachers of the battle school are having Ender's army do these scrimmage battles every single day. And taking a step back, the one thing I don't really understand about Ender's game in general is like, why is Ender so talented and smart and adept at everything? Like, is there a reason? He seems invincible. He seems impenetrable. It seems impossible for him to fail. He always finds a way out, and he barely even falters at any sort of adversity. So is he just like the perfect specimen? I don't really understand. Like, why is he this way? I know Peter is really smart, and so is Val, but still, is Ender just built different? I think that might be the answer. Another thing is I'm listening to the audiobook on Spotify because it was included in my family plan, and there's absolutely no rhyme or reason to the chapter numbers. I'm on like chapter 60, and in the actual book, it's like the equivalent of chapter 12. It makes no sense. A new chapter on the audiobook will start like mid-paragraph in the actual book. It blows my mind, and so when I actually physically read the book and then go back to find my place in the audiobook, it's impossible. I'm just closing my eyes, throwing darts, and hoping they're gonna hit the bullseye. And I'm not good at darts. But yeah, Graf is pushing Ender to his limit to show Ender that no adult will ever save him in battle or in life. Day after day for weeks, Ender and his army have battles where, again, the other armies are only fighting like once a week. I learned that Bonzo's name is pronounced Bonzo, so I also messed that up. And kind of going to the point where Graf is trying to prove that no one's ever going to come save the day for him. Coincidentally, Bonzo's pissed about losing that battle against Ender, and he's legit wants to kill him. So him and his boys are kind of ganging up on Ender while Ender's alone in the shower. And our guy Dink comes to the rescue, but then kind of just gets like shoved out through the door, so it didn't help at all. It's the thought that counts though, I guess. And so Ender faces off against Bonzo, and he absolutely pummels Bonzo. Because of course he does. So Bonzo gets kicked out of battle school because the teachers heard, him trying to gang up on Ender, and that's not right. Meanwhile, Graf and all the teachers are still absolutely pushing Dragon Army to the limit. They had Dragon Army face off against 2 armies on the day that Ender got jumped. Ender wins again and is ripped at the teachers, just continually screwing up the rules of the game of battle school. At this point, Ender is like, I don't know, probably like 50-0. This guy cannot lose. This guy is allergic to losing. And our friend Bean is traded from Ender's army to go be a commander of another army. And meanwhile, Bean is like 7. So that's crazy. And we found out that they transferred a lot of Dragon Army because Dragon Army became so talented that now they needed those kids to lead the other armies. Turns out Dragon Army was like OKC with Harden, Durant, and Westbrook. And now they're all going their separate ways to lead their own squad. But not only that, Ender graduated from battle school and he's swiftly shuttled off to command school, skipping pre-command school. So you don't usually go to command school until you're 16, and Ender's 10 at this point. And this is the biggest twist of all. At the end of this reading session, we learned that Ender killed Bonzo in that fight. And he also killed Stilson in that fight back in school. And that was an absolute bombshell. I'm actually getting chills thinking about it because we as the reader know that, but Ender doesn't know that he killed these guys because he pummeled them so bad. So yeah, this is 227 pages in. I think I left off at chapter 13. And look, honestly, I'm reading way faster than I normally would. I don't know what it is about these reading vlogs, but they kind of like motivate me to read faster and film these updates, and this vlog just absolutely consumes my life and responsibilities. I've been reading till like 1 a.m. the last couple nights, and then I will literally edit for like 3 hours the next day, and then rinse and repeat. I don't know. Just know that when I do these vlogs, for some reason, my reading speed goes like at hyper speed. And also this book just reads really fast. The pages are kind of small. The words are pretty big. It just reads quickly. Would I recommend this book to a beginner reader? I don't really actually think so because, well, maybe. Honestly, like some of the tactical parts of explaining like how they're fighting and what they're doing within gravity is a little bit confusing. It reminds me of reading The Martian or Project Hail Mary, where I can't totally visualize what's happening. But at the end of it, I know that Ender's team wins. So I can just derive the important part from that battle. But I do wish I was a little bit better at understanding gravity, maybe. Defying gravity, if you will. Because yeah, those fight scenes are kind of like breaking my brain. This like 70 pages I just read, there was just a lot of Ender polishing his skills and coaching and being an absolute beast. Got about 80 or 90 pages left. And I'm going to be frank with you, I don't really know what could possibly happen at the end of this book. Again, we have not even gotten a glimpse of the buggers. So when are they going to get introduced? And I'm assuming that's going to be a big battle when it happens. So it has to be soon, or it has to not happen at all. I know that there's books after Ender's Game, but I'm aware that Ender's Game reads as a standalone fine. So it's just making me question if the buggers are real or not. I guess what I'm getting at, like maybe the next book will be the bugger battle, and this one kind of focuses on the battle school and Ender training and like mascot. No glasses alert.
I'm the bride, he's the groom.
I do. I'm trying to get my thoughts on this. I feel like there is a 70% chance we don't see a single bugger in this book. Got a better chance of seeing a booger in the book, if you know what I'm saying, at this point. I think we're just going to get more of Ender meeting people in command school at this point. More of Peter and Val stirring political turmoil. And I have no idea how this is going to end. I really don't. I don't know how he's going to wrap this up in 90 pages. I'm going to leave it at that. And next time I check in with you, I will know how he's going to do it. So I'm excited for that. How are your thoughts? He doesn't want to talk to you guys right now. This could be really ugly. I haven't swung a golf club in a month. Should be okay. I do not know how this happened, but this is my ball. It has my initials on it. Must have rolled down here. About a 78 yards. I got my sand wedge. Nice. On and two, baby. Got a birdie putt here. But to be honest, I'm just trying to two-putt this for par. This is a knee knocker. This hole has never looked smaller to me. Keep going. Oh, bogey. So you gotta play this one about 190. It's a dog leg. I got my 6-iron, which is Dr. Doofenshmirtz to my Perry the Platypus. Not great. I chunked the living daylights out of it, but I think it might have just ran. Only have a tiny look at the green. Got some tree trouble, as they say in the golf world. Buried in the rough. This ball might as well be a heat-seeking missile to one of those sand traps. A big thing this year for me with my golf swing is just slowing things down. I've been trying to do that with my life in general. See if it works. This is an approach wedge, about 110 yards. I'm gonna try to ride it up around the tree here. We'll see. Oh yeah, that's right in the sand trap. What'd I tell you? The thing about sand traps is you don't practice them. Someone just kind of tells you that you're supposed to hit an inch behind the ball and then you just run with it and hope that it works every time. All right. On the fringe here, absolutely putting it. I can't tell which way it slopes. Nope, it was the other way. Textbook double bogey, folks. That's all we got left, folks. 50 measly pages until we've officially read all of Ender's Game. But first, let's talk about what I read. Ender's sister Val is low-key like radicalized as this internet alias Demosthenes. So that was something I didn't expect to happen at all. And Peter's super jealous that people like Demosthenes more than his Locke. Peter could be the most jealous person around. If Peter was a condiment, he'd be jelly. If Peter was a style of layup, he'd be jelly. So Graf, aka the IF, sends Val to go see Ender again. And Ender's like on a private lake or something, waiting till he has to go launch into orbit to go to command school on some distant planet. So he's just kind of like chilling on a lake, and Ender is down bad. It kind of reminds me of that episode of Entourage where Vinny Chase escapes to his hideaway in Mexico or something after Medellin bombs. That's like kind of what Ender's going through. He's just like loving life on this lake and he doesn't want to leave. Wants to escape reality. And so this is Val and Ender reconnecting for the first time in like 3 years or more. And Val kind of gives him a lowdown of what she's been up to. She tells him that Peter has changed. It isn't so bad. Ender confesses that he really just wants Peter to love him. And ultimately, Val convinces Ender to go to command school because he was kind of debating not doing it. And so Ender is shipping off to his training on another planet. And Graf's new job is essentially just being his chauffeur. And before he leaves Earth, Ender kind of has like an epiphany that he loves Earth. It's kind of like how Lil Dicky went from saving that money to randomly making a song about saving the Earth. So the trip to the planet that the command school is at, it takes 3 months. The planet's called Eros, and Graf and Ender kind of create a bond on this trip. Graf tells Ender that they don't really know much about the buggers. Same, bro. You guys haven't told us anything about these these friggin' buggers. But he did say that most of them are female. They do know that the buggers look like insects. So that was really expert intel. I'm glad that they mentioned that. And that the buggers can communicate faster than light, almost like a hive mind. And so because of that, the humans have spent time creating Wi-Fi that works across the galaxy so that they can communicate in real time inside of their ships. Graf reveals that the IF is actually planning to attack the buggers, not the other way around, like everyone else thinks is gonna happen. And he says it's gonna happen in like 5 years. And that Ender is gonna be the commander. AKA when he's 15, he's gonna be leading the charge to defeat these insects. And what we get out of that conversation with Graf and Ender is that the whole war is just happening because the humans don't really know if the buggers are planning to kill them or not. At this point, I was like, maybe the buggers aren't so bad. Maybe they're just misunderstood. So they get to Eros, and Ender is isolated to train and study all by his lonesome dove. But to his delight, there's a video game in there called The Simulator, and he loves it because it challenges him. This is like a souped up VR video game where they can see holographics of computer manned ships, and he has to fight them and defeat them. And the simulator is essentially the battle school of command school. Like, that's where they're really being tested and putting their skills to motion. And Ender's nasty at it because of course he is. He learns like this, and he gets to a point where it's not even hard for him to defeat the computer. He tells Graf that, and the next day an old man is in this room, isolated with him, just kind of sitting there, crisscross applesauce, not speaking a word, like an absolute creep. Ender disregards him for hours, figures it's some sort of test, and as soon as Ender turns his back, out of nowhere, the old man attacks him to teach him a lesson to never trust his enemies, no matter how kind they might look. Then they go on and kind of like fight each other a little bit, and the old man declares that he is Ender's companion now. He's his right hand, he's his go-to, he's his teacher. It's like the first teacher Ender's actually had because the teachers in the battle school weren't doing shit. And so Ender asks his name, and the old man answers, Mazer Rockham. Mazer motherfucker Rockham in the house. About to spew his wisdom to my boy Ender. This whole time I honestly thought Mazer was gonna be a fraud, but the proof is in the pudding. It seems like he can fight. Well, fight a 10-year-old at least. Mazer's like 60, so I don't know if the odds are really stacked against him in this situation. But I don't know, Mazer seems like the real deal. He's taken Ender under his wing and says that he's gonna control the opposing forces in the simulator now. So Mazer essentially takes Ender through his version of Gruden's QB camp. They're just studying game film of like the bugger strategies, putting those hours in. Mazer reiterates that Ender is gonna be the next commander of this whole fleet that's gonna defeat the buggers. And Ender asks the question that we've all really been wondering. Why don't you be the commander, Mazer? You're like 60. And Mazer just goes, I have my reasons. And that's that. They just drop it. They just drop it there. Sick. That's perfect. Mazer Rockham actually shows Ender his previously censored invasion footage. And it turns out it really wasn't an epic battle. It was kind of just like his ship just kind of slowly floated by the bugger ships. And then all the bugger ships just kind of started crashing into each other. It's pretty lame, actually. But he tells Ender that he believes that the buggers are literally bugs. They're literally bugs, like ants and insects, potentially evolved from planet Earth in the past. But because they're bugs, they have a queen that controls them. So when he killed the queen in that invasion back in the day, all the rest of the buggers just went stupid. They just essentially disabled and couldn't control their physical components, and they just withered away and died because they need to follow a queen. Honestly, like, that was a little bit frustrating to learn. Cool, but frustrating because it just seems like a cop-out. It reminds me of, spoiler alert for Game of Thrones here. I'm gonna give you a few seconds. Okay. In the Game of Thrones TV show, we have like the White Walkers, and they're this like an impenetrable army in the whole 6 seasons of this show, 7, 8 seasons. We're just like, how are Jon Snow, the Lannisters, and Khaleesi, how do they possibly stand a chance against these White Walkers? There are so many of them. Whenever anyone dies, they become a White Walker, and they almost work as one zombie mind. You have this feeling of dread throughout the whole series that, okay, all these humans are squabbling, but at the end, this like alien force is, how do you beat them? How do you do it? There's too many of them. It's not going to happen. And then in the last season, Super Mario jumps out of nowhere and slices through one of the heads of the White Walkers, killing him. And when that one dies, every other White Walker just kind of like crumbles. It was that easy. And so this feels like a more of the same of that, to be honest. Like, okay, Ender's just going to have to go after the queen, and that's going to end everything. It's not going to be some epic battle where they're fighting for years. Anyways, Mazer kind of gives the reason of why the buggers are a threat. Apparently they wanted to start a hive on Earth, like kind of populate Earth. In this section, we just get a lot of explaining from our guy Mazer, and he eventually tells Ender their plan to defeat the buggers this time around on their attack, which is to use a nuke. pretty much. Just this crazy explosive that will take down all their ships, and hopefully the Queen will be on one of those ships. If they take down the Queen ship, they're all gonna go kaput. So yeah, that's everything that's happened so far. Honestly, 50 pages left. I'm still not sure where this is gonna go. I feel like a lot has happened, but not a lot has happened in the grand scheme of things. I'm still not fully sure if I can trust Mazer Rackham, and this does not feel like enough time to get the grand finale of the Bugger invasion war. I actually had to stop. This chapter that I'm currently on, I'm pretty sure is the second to last chapter, chapter 14. It's like a 45-page chapter. I had to stop halfway through, or else my last segment here would have only been like 15 pages. So this chapter 14, I'm expecting some sort of big time moment or a culmination that is gonna make this all make sense. If I had to guess, I'm going to assume that Ender does take down the Buggers effortlessly, because that's what Ender does. There's only 25 letters in Ender's alphabet because L is not one of them. So yeah, I think Ender, Mazer, and Graf. No, see, like, no, I'm going on this tangent. Why are Peter and Val involved at all? There's something going on and bubbling up with this Russian war too. I just don't know how the two relate. Or is this going to be some sort of twist where like the Russians were the Buggers all along, or vice versa? I don't know. Now I'm spitting conspiracies like my name's Dink. I guess what I'm getting at is I think that Ender is going to succeed at whatever his mission is. But this book does not seem like it's going to end in this honky-dory positive moment as much as I thought it was going to going into this book. This book has not at all been like what I expected. It's a bit darker, a bit less like classic heroic. I think maybe Val and Peter's storyline is more so a beginning of what's going to continue in the next book. Val nor Peter is on this ship with Ender on this random planet called Eros that the Buggers once inhabited. And so that's why the humans have evolved so much with their technologies, literally plagiarizing all the Bugger technology. So yeah, there's no way that Val and Peter are going to be involved. He's light years away from them. So I'm just assuming it's just going to be targeted really in on this Bugger invasion. That's my guess, and Ender's going to win. I have no idea how Orson Scott Card is going to do this, but next time I check in with you, I will know. So looking forward to that. I've officially read every last drop of Ender's Game. I took the morning to collect my thoughts, but oh my God. Ender, look at her butt. Don't she? Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, folks. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of twists going on. And yeah, I guess this is the thing that I just put a suit jacket on now in the final part of these vlogs. Okay, so they changed the simulator setup because now Ender has advanced and now he is training to command a fleet of squadron leaders. So this is getting legit. And Ender's like, I'm gonna have to like meet all these people. This is gonna be this whole thing. But then the squadron leaders end up being Alai, Petra, Bean, Dink, Shen, and more of the kids that he went through battle school with. And they've been secretly training on the side to prepare themselves for this situation. And so Ender and them train vigorously for like 3 weeks and become this awesome team. So they're fighting these Bugger simulations of all these Bugger ships coming at them with new tactics. The Bugger ships kind of learn what they're doing. They have to try new things. Mazer Rackham's controlling all the ships and kind of guiding the computer simulator or AI or whatever it is to keep pushing Ender and his squad to present them with things that they are going to see when the actual battle comes with the Buggers. But they are getting pushed way too hard. Ender starts having these dreams, or nightmares I should say, like one where everyone he knows is a Bugger. His performance starts to slip. He's simply overworked and underslept. I mean, they all are. All his squadron leaders are. I mean, there's 10 and 11 being absolutely worked to the bone day after day. It catches up to Ender. He starts thinking he's literally going crazy with all these nightmares that he's having. His morning routine turns into wake up, win a battle, sleep, rinse and repeat day after day until he literally can't tell the difference between being awake and being asleep. He's going nuts. And it all reaches a breaking point. Ender is ready to quit, but then that day he walks into the simulator room and learns that it is the final examination of command school. All the teachers are there. Major Anderson, Graf, Mazer Rackham, all these adults that have been through battle school. So Ender starts up the simulator. He's got his gang around him and they see the enemy appear in this simulator. And they outnumber Ender and his gang 1,000 to 1. There's like 10,000 Buggers zipping around space that Ender has to deal with somehow. And this is when it gets really crazy. This part is bananas. But Ender kind of takes something that he learned in battle school to trick the teachers, almost like a cheat code. He applies that to this situation so that he could piss off Mazer Rackham, Graf, and everyone else because he is just fed up. And so in this final simulator battle, all these ships are guarding this planet, and Ender just beelines it to the planet, not even caring if his ships get shot down or whatever. As long as the ship carrying the nuke gets through, he's fine. And it does. And they shoot the nuke at the planet, and he's like, I don't even know if this video game is going to process this nuke because I don't think anyone's ever done this before. So maybe the screen's just going to say game over or something after I hit the planet. And in this moment, he's like, I'm not going to win honorably. I just want to piss off Mazer Rackham and show these adults that this game is messed up. And so the planet bubbles up and explodes. Ender turns around to all the adults and is just kind of like ready for them to yell at him. But to his surprise, Mazer Rackham and all the adults are like crying and cheering and going nuts. Like they just won the Super Bowl. And Ender's like, what's going on? You should be mad at me. And then Mazer drops the bomb on Ender that he hasn't actually been practicing in this simulator at all for these 3 weeks. In actuality, he's literally been fighting the Bugger Army. And he literally exploded their home planet, where all the queens live, henceforth killing every single bugger alive. And that was nuts, but for some reason, I knew that was gonna happen.
Okay, so I have a hot take, and I feel like maybe I know the ending for some reason. Maybe I've just heard it through the grapevine. I feel like Ender is going to get duped into thinking he's playing the simulator and actually defeating the buggers. Like, he thinks it's a computer game, but it's actually the real buggers. I don't know. Just a theory.
Like, before I got to this part, I had a feeling that this was going to happen, and maybe I did watch the movie at some point 10 years ago, or maybe someone spoiled the ending along the way, because I don't think I would have just randomly guessed that. So this twist, I actually wasn't super surprised about, but even knowing that it was gonna happen still hit emotionally. Because poor Ender has just spent his life trying to do good and not become Peter. And he is literally responsible for a mass genocide. So Ender's crushed. I mean, he was tricked into commanding and winning this army that held the fate of humanity in its fingertips. And all the adults tricked him because he wouldn't have done it otherwise. And the reason that they chose someone so young, like a literal child, to command the fleet is because they think that children don't really fully understand the repercussions of warfare and that they act young and reckless. So across the galaxy, Ender Wiggin is being hailed a hero. But back on Earth, there's actually a war brewing amongst the humans. America, Russia, the hegemony, which I have to be honest, I had to look up, and I'm not sure if it's a country or if it's just like a political structure. I'm not really, I probably sound dumb, but I am dumb, so I'm sounding how I am. Everybody wants a piece of Ender to lead their army, except Russia. Russia wants Ender dead. I don't know why. Maybe because he's American. I don't know. This part, I don't really understand. Ender falls asleep for 5 days. just kills every single bugger alive in the whole Milky Way and just takes a big time snooze after. He's exhausted, he's hungover, he's like me after I have 4 IPAs. I can't put him down like I used to. But while Ender's sleeping, Earth actually signs a peace treaty. These warring countries agree to a proposal called the Locke Proposal. And I'll lock you guys in for a second because I don't know if you remember, Peter is Locke. Peter's getting his grubby little fingers involved somehow. So all the wars are over. The Bugger War, the World War III or whatever. Ender, Bean, Eli, and Petra kind of have this nice moment together where they're all feel like kids versus Ender's like their commander because their relationship was strained for a while. And then this next 20 or so pages was out of nowhere. After I read that, I honestly kind of figured that these extra pages at the end were like a preview of the sequel book. But no, there's 20 more pages after that, all that stuff happened. And it's describing the aftermath. So Graf is now assigned to be the head of colonization, where humans are now gonna fly out and colonize all these empty bugger planets because Ender killed all the buggers. All the thirds, fourths, and fifth born in their families now have a place to live and to start a new life because for whatever reason, Earth has this population control thing going on. Ender learns about Stilson and Bonzo and pretty shaken up about that too. Ender's down bad. And they won't let Ender go home from Eros. And we find out that's due to Val. Val actually told them not to send Ender back to Earth because if he went back to Earth, he'd be under Peter's thumb because Peter is head of the Hegemon Council. And I'm not gonna act like I know what that means, but it sounds powerful. Peter's 14. So Peter still wants to conquer the world. Some people know who he is and how young he is, but at this point he has so much power that it doesn't matter. But it's kind of ironic that Peter actually created peace in the world, like the actual Earth, versus Ender destroyed a whole species. So Ender, Val, Graf, Mazer Rackham all fly off to colonize the first bugger planet, which is aptly called Ender's World. Ender kind of takes it upon himself to explore what the buggers left behind, to kind of learn what he could about them, to honor them somehow. Years pass, yet Peter is hegemon of Earth. I don't know if that was a... Yeah, he's the hegemon of Earth. Spearheading peace and prosperity. What a 180. An absolute Barry Zito curveball if there ever was one. Peter's just this peacemaker. Meanwhile, Ender is out on like a scouting mission to go see where to start a neighborhood or something. And he stumbles upon the scene from the video game where he fought the giant, and the giant like withered away and had a corpse, and he saw those kids playing on the playground, all that stuff. He sees it in real life on this bugger planet. It's all like a replica of everything, the end of the world level. And this is where it gets really, really bizarre in a good way. Like my jaw was absolutely below sea level reading this. Ender looks at the mirror that he used to see Peter's face in. He like pulls it down or something, and he finds a bugger queen egg. And we learn that the buggers were trying to communicate with Ender, because they can't actually talk. They communicate through like this hive mind. But while Ender was struggling, like exhausted, trying to defeat them, even though they know that he didn't know what he was actually doing.
Because they got into his brain somehow and accessed all of everything he's had nightmares and dreams about, like the video game.
And apparently we learned that the buggers accidentally attacked the humans in the first place in that first bugger invasion. And once they realized that humans were like living organisms, they stopped and just were like hoping the humans wouldn't come attack them. The head queen of the buggers essentially info dumps everything that she has ever known into Ender's mind. And so he spends his days writing the bugger origin story and puts it in a book. That story becomes a religion. And him and Val, who's also writes books about like the history of the world and Ender, everything, they just both become authors, I guess. But yeah, him and Val go world to world, knocking door to door, spreading the good word about the bugger religion. That I didn't put it in my note. It has a name, I didn't put it in my notes, and I forget what it's called. And meanwhile, Ender is looking for a place to plant the egg to restart the bugger colony. Because once he plants this egg, 100,000 buggers are gonna be born. So Val and Ender, who are in space, are both like in their mid-20s by the end of this. Back on Earth, Peter's like 77. Peter reaches out to them because he's about to pass away. And Val writes the story of his life. He did some good, he did some bad. Yeah, to finalize it all, Ender ends up as the speaker for the dead for the buggers. And that's kind of it. That's kind of it. Pretty wild. The next book in the series is called Speaker of the Dead. And I did read a Reddit thread, I don't know how true it is, that Orson Scott Card actually thought of the book Speaker for the Dead before he thought of Ender's Game, and he wrote Ender's Game as a prequel so that Speaker for the Dead would have some backstory on why the main character was so headstrong about saving this species and their story. I hear that book's also a banger, but yeah, this book was absolutely a banger. This is a 4.5 out of 5, if you're asking me. The only thing that's like bugging me, pun intended, and kind of in the back of my head, before I read The Speaker of the Dead, which I don't know when I'm gonna read, but at a certain point, Ender learns the lesson from Mazer Rackham to never really trust your enemy. And Mazer Rackham proves, although he looks like a docile old man, that the second Ender turns it back, he was gonna attack Ender. Now Ender gets all this info dump from the queen bug, and he gets all this empathy for them and feels obviously terrible about eradicating them. He now puts it on himself to bring them back into the universe. But look, there's like 3 other books in this series, so who's there to say that these buggers aren't just manipulating Ender like he's been manipulated by adults and teachers and everyone he's ever known throughout this book? Could be a hot take. I could be way off, but I don't know. In my head, I hope that the buggers are nice, but I just do not understand how you could continue the story if they were. So did Ender's Game live up to the hype? Absolutely, yes. Back in the day, I gave this a 1 out of 10 for excited to read. I didn't think I was gonna read this book for years, but I am so happy that you guys convinced me to do it. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting all those twists, especially the one at the end. I thought the character of Ender was super interesting. I still don't know why he's so strong and smart and good at everything so young. Obviously, there's something in that family bloodline between him, Val, and Peter. Every time I thought Ender was gonna have a buddy, like with Shen and then Eli, they kind of just flattened out to all be the same character. These kids that he goes to battle school with, like the side characters, they're kind of interchangeable. Even Petra, like, there's really not that much
signifying one from the other. They're just kind of pawns in Ender's story. I don't even know where they end up at the end. Maybe they go back to Earth. We spend a lot of time with Peter and Val, and at the end it just seems very kind of, I don't want to say rushed, but like it's like you put on a 5x fast forward through Ender, Val, and Peter's life on the last 20 pages. Like we spend so much time from ages 6 to like 10, and we get like ages 10 to 25 in like 20 pages, and a lot of big stuff happens. So the last 20 pages were just like, what? It was like kind of that, like whiplash. I don't know if that's like a pacing thing or whatever, because everything, the whole book was super interesting. It focused on Battle School and Commander School, but all my questions of like, how are they going to wrap this up were answered because they just sped run the last 20 pages. And look, I'm not saying that I don't like that. I would rather it be this length than be 550 pages, but it's just something to mention. Also, I feel like I should put a bow on those two guys that were talking that I thought audibly sounded like those two angels or galaxies from It's a Wonderful Life. I think it must have been Graf and Major Anderson, but I'm not really positive about that. I just spent so much time talking about that in the first vlog, so I figured I'd put a bow on that. But yeah, I mean, everything's wrapped up. We get answers to really everything in this book, even as to why they're using children to do this. It's pretty much because they're impressionable and reckless and can take more risks than an adult with, I guess, who might think they have more to lose and might hold them back. But yeah, a lot of things surprised me. I didn't think we'd see Mazer Rackham. We did. I didn't think buggers were real. They are. I thought Peter was going to be the bad guy. He's actually like literally made world peace. So everything that I thought was going to happen didn't happen. This book did everything it needed to do. It was a really fun ride. Pretty easy to read. And yeah, I would highly recommend it to a fantasy or sci-fi fan. Although I'm sure most of you have already read it. I'm way too late to the game. That's it, guys. That's gonna be the whole vlog right there. That's gonna be the whole vlog right there. Let me know how you guys like this spoiler vlog. For me personally, I felt like I spent a lot of my time reading, like taking notes of plot points and character arcs and things. So it took me a little bit out of the reading of it because I felt like I was taking notes a lot. And in this vlog, I felt like I've been summarizing a lot. Like you could almost watch this vlog if you wanted a refresher on what happens in Ender's Game. And I pretty much talk about most of the plot points. This is pretty much a Spark Notes version of the audiobook or something. Instead of listening to 11 hours, you can watch this video for 1 hour. So I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but it's the first time I've done it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was fun to do. It was fun to read. Thank you for watching. Take a bow, Ender. I'm so bad at golf, man. No way. No way. I just gotta punch it out of here. Come on, get up. Let's go! The highs and lows of golf, baby. Definitely come right to left here. But how much is the question? I'm gonna drip it. Really want to hit this putt. I'm not gonna act like a bogey isn't good for me, so I will take it.